Now we're live. I can see the little red thing in the corner. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name's Claire. Morning. Lovely, Jason. My name's Claire Kennedy. I am the founder and CEO of our very small charity called Kennedy Street, which is a recovery charity based in Brighton. I've got my lovely husband here with me, who is on mute at the moment because he keeps sneezing. I'm going to put that out there just in case he sneezes. And we've got the fabulous Jason Baker, who's a wonderful friend of mine, and Kev's, but also a great supporter of the work that we're doing in the community. So I'll give you a little bit more of an introduction. Well, I'll let Jason introduce himself in a minute. I'll just fill you in as to what we're doing today. So as you may or may not know, we've just had a full month of fundraising activity called Road to Recovery, which was a virtual 5-kilometre event. And Jason, like I said, was one of our headline sponsors. So his company is Citrus Ornge. So they kindly sponsored, was one of the headline sponsors of our event. And we've managed to raise, are you ready, drum roll? Rubbish at drum rolling. And we've managed to raise just over £6,000. So as of this morning, and now, how amazing is that? So thankful, so grateful to everybody out there who supported us, who run 5 kilometres, who donated, who sponsored us. Yeah, we can't do it without you guys. The fact of the matter is, you know, we're running a national helpline because of COVID, and we really want to be able to continue to offer that support, because people need a starting point, you know, because recovery really does change lives. Yeah, so that's me introduced. That's me filling you in on my information. I'm going to let Kev just say hello because I'm kind like that, and then Kev will introduce Jason.
Hello, everyone. I might be sneezing and snotting a little bit. Sorry about that. It's nothing sinister. It's just, I think it's allergies, I think. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone that helped us raise that marvellous amount of money. That is so helpful. Thank you all very much for our volunteers. And one of our sponsors, which is Citrus Ornge, and we have Jason Baker, who's the CEO of Citrus Ornge. And I would like to start with saying thank you, Jason, for all your support during this. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. And would you like to introduce yourself to the millions of people who are watching this right now?
Yes, thanks, Kevin. And thanks, Claire, so much for inviting me on today. And yeah, my name's Jason Baker, and I'm the CEO and founder of Citrus Ornge Media. And I'm so grateful and lifted by being here today. It's a beautiful sunny day, and Citrus Ornge Media, we are a performance marketing and technology business. We formed just over 2 years ago, and we have so we do lots of stuff. We do lots of marketing activities. I won't go into all the details of that now, but the reason why we support the Kennedy Street and all the activities that they do, and from the very beginning, Claire has been very much involved and actually has probably been one of the catalysts to Citrus Ornge existing like it does today, because we have a social mission at our heart of the business. 50%, and it's written into our articles of association, in our, actually written into our business. It's written in that 50% of our business is made up of people in recovery from addiction. It does say ex-offenders as well. And the reason why that is because we worked with the Forward Trust, which is a trust that encourages businesses to help create opportunities for those in recovery and ex-offenders. And we did that because it opened up and widened our recruitment pool. So it's just a tactical reason. And it's turned out to be that actually recovery is where we focus most of our attention. Because I'm in recovery, and I have been in recovery for over 5 years now, and actually in the recovery journey for over 5 years, but haven't needed to take any kind of drink or anything for that matter for about 3.5 years now. About 3.5 years now. So, and so it's really, really key and really important to me that I'm right in the middle of organisations like like yourself that do wonderful things, promoting a solution of any kind to people in recovery. So that's what we do. Does that summarise what we do?
Beautifully. beautifully.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. And I want to ask you, firstly, I believe you're up for an award, are you not?
We are. So yes, that was.
Would you like to tell us all about your award?
Yeah, I mean, it's mind blowing, and yeah, I actually thought it was one of those fake awards when you get any emails from people saying, you know, you've would you like to get involved in this award? And it's the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, and it's awesome. It's sponsored by Starling Bank, so that gives it that credibility. You know, it's sponsored by a challenger bank out there, and I'm not mentioning this for the sponsorship, but just I'm not mentioning it for those reasons. But it's sponsored by one of the large telecoms companies as well. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, this is real. This is real, and we we did put ourselves forward. So there were about 2,600 applicants, of which we have been shortlisted for Small Business of the Year, which is just amazing, you know, considering our social mission. And I don't want to lean on that too much, but it is considering our social mission, you know, to have a business which has a social mission that has stigma attached to it. You know, the recovery and addiction and alcoholism has stigma attached to it. And, you know, we're able to even be in the running for an award. I think what it says is that addiction doesn't discriminate, and neither does recovery. So that, you know, we get sober and we go off and do some great things.
And is there going to be a big dinner and an award ceremony and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, for the whole team, it's a virtual ceremony on the 23rd of September this month. So it's actually like 3 weeks away. Thursday night, I'm actually going to get my black tie on. I'm actually going to get, I'm going to get black tie on, and I'm going to encourage the team to smarten, you know, to get in their smarts and, you know, get out of the Brighton flip-flops and T-shirts and shorts and and put some, like I did today, I put a shirt on, you know. We're getting, there's a ceremony, I think in the, you know, sometime in the evening, and we're all going to celebrate together, celebrate everyone else, you know, and if we win, I'll be the guy on mute in the background, jumping up and down, screaming.
So you're going to get together, all dressed up in black tie and nice frocks, all on the same screen, presumably.
I don't know what to do about that, because
you've got to do that. You've got to, I tell you what, you've got to organise a table in a restaurant, make it look like a proper an award ceremony, get all your people around, because I'm sure you've got a bubble there, and then when the guy, and I'm sure the restaurant would love it, and of course when the guy opens the envelope and says, and the winner is Baker for Citrus Orange, then you can all jump up and down, and you've got to do it that way.
No, that's a fantastic, and what you've suggested, it's been a hard year for everyone, you know, it's been a really tough year for the team as well. And I was going to organise a summer beach get together, socially distant beach get together on a Friday afternoon.
Right.
And what you've given me is a great suggestion now is that actually instead of doing that, is because that was dependent on the weather and you can't rely on the weather. So this is a really good opportunity for everyone to get together. Those that can make it on the day can come along. We'll meet in a restaurant in Brighton somewhere, because you know, a lot of our employees work and live in Brighton. They live in Brighton rather. So yeah, I mean, but we have got employees in the south of France. We've got people in London. We've got, you know, so it will be those that can get there will get there. But that's a great idea, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That's right.
I mean, is there anything we can do? I mean, can we vote, or who's voting for you?
We've got the peer group. I mean, it's got some amazing peers of there's people in my industry. I won't mention his name, but there's a guy who's so you can't vote. To answer your question, I've got to keep on the questions. I've got to stay focused. I can go off. Your question was, can we vote? I don't think you can. It's got a judging panel that is made up of industry leaders and industry folk who are around the certain areas of those awards. Because we actually submitted the Business for Good award as well, and I thought that would be the one, which is actually it's more of a accolade, because we've not won an award for the social good. We've won an award just for being a small business, which, again, going back to our social mission of people being in recovery, it just means we are, you know, it's what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say normalizes. it gives credibility to everyone's efforts. You know, that we are we're alongside other people who don't have, you know, who are not in recovery. And I think that's really.
The thing is, you've mentioned that a few times, and I think it's important to say that you do have a social mission, but you're also running a business. So there's a couple of questions. I mean, how important is for local businesses to get on board with charities? And because you are running a business, and at the end of the day, it's what it is that a happy marriage, the two together, or can there be friction between your social mission and actually trying to run a business, or does it work beautifully?
It's a really good question. And firstly, I'll say that when I was launching this business and it became, and Claire was involved in the initial, you know, those initial conversations, because she invited me to the Forward Trust chat. They came to Brighton to talk to businesses or to people who wanted to set up businesses. To answer your question, when we put the social mission at the front of the business, you know, when I put it as, you know, right at the core, if you like, that's when, I don't know, everything kind of, it just made it easier. It made it easier. It's turned into a massive, and I went to meet an old colleague for lunch, and he said, well, you're not, you know, I hope you're not kind of, I don't know the word he used, not benefiting, you know, you're not trading off it. That's the word he used. You're not trading off but, you know, again, when I look at carrying a message of hope for people who might be struggling, I do go to businesses. When I talk to businesses, it's not the first thing I talk about, but I put it in our conversations with clients, and they love it. They absolutely love it. So to answer your question, does it conflict? It does sometimes. It's hard to find good. We've got some great people, but our talent pool of that criteria is smaller. So we do have people that are not in recovery, and actually, to end on that topic is this Forward Trust at one point said to me, Jason, you need to slow down on your mission and focus on your business. You know, we're like, listen, Jason, great that you're doing all this great stuff, but when I was reporting all these amazing activities, but our numbers might not have been as where they should be. You're like, right, Jason, you've done enough social mission for the next couple of months. Focus on the business. So
it's important that the point I was making why I was making that point is because it's important. That's what we're all about. We're all about success in recovery. Now, profit is not a dirty word. You know what I mean?
No.
You've got to be able to, that's what we're all about. It's not about so much the addiction. Of course, that's a big part of it, but it's about what happens afterwards and you personally are a great shining light to show what can happen to someone who's in recovery, who can be a success, who can make a profit, whose business is not only an asset to the local community, but it's a viable financial proposition. And that is what we're all about, is the fact that you can go from recovery into doing what you're doing now. Yeah,
I do feel very privileged, and the people that have been involved in the business. You know, we've got people from people who have worked for us and do work for us, who've come via, you know, the Pavilions Drug and Alcohol Service, their IPS team, the Individual Placement Service, which has helped us. Rob Robinson and his team have been absolutely amazing, helping with that recruitment process, you know, onboarding people who are quite early in their journey, so they might be 6 months sober, and they flourished. And, you know, I won't say her name, but she works for us. She's actually public. I've mentioned her name in other interviews before, but I won't today. But she has flourished. She's been around. She's now been sober for over a year. She has grown in her way she goes about herself, all the way up to board level. You know, we've got people at board level that are in recovery. It's amazing watching people grow. It's amazing, and watching people have these little moments where they grow a little bit more, and you see someone go, oh, okay. And a lot of it is around their their ability to know that they can do. You know, they can do. That's, you know, when I got sober, the reason why we did this and the reason why I did this initially is I just remember just how difficult it was, even opening a laptop. That 5 days sober, or a week sober, trying to navigate my way around life, and certainly, and I've got people in recovery that have shared really great stuff with me. Get sober, get a job, get a purpose, and get a life you don't want to lose.
Yeah.
But in that process was, it's really hard at first, and I remember how hard it was. So the reason why we have the mission, partly, is I remember how hard it was. So I have a sympathetic and understanding approach to when someone's on that initial part of the journey, and we can then develop and grow someone's skills so that they then pass that initial phase and get into flourishing and growing and enjoying sobriety.
Can I ask you as well? You've touched on this, but your competitors or your peers, how do they react to your social mission? And is there a little bit of envy there? Is there wish we thought of that first? I mean, do you find that is a common thing?
I've never experienced it. Honestly, I've never experienced it. I've only had respect, and I wouldn't say admiration. That's an ego-driven word. I don't know what they're feeling, but they're certainly only ever given really positive feedback. I sat in one of the largest magazine publishers, who's a partner of ours, huge magazine publisher, who the owner, who actually is passed, was a writer, and he was known to like a drink, and so he's written books where he would like to drink, and he got sober as well. He got sober for a bit, and but I don't think he stayed sober. But anyway, I sat in this publisher, and when I described this to the editor of this, one of the biggest magazines, money magazines in the UK, they just loved it. They just loved it, and they had only respect for the mission. So
can I add, before Kevin beats me to the question? So I want to just say, right, I mean, I can say this from my own personal experience of you, Jason. I perceive, I mean, your business is amazing. It does fabulous work. It is a business that's thriving in your industry, and you're going from strength to strength. And for me, as a friend of yours, to watch you grow is beautiful and a privilege. And I know how hard you work in your job, in your recovery, and I know that you have got a huge heart to help people like us do what we do, and other people in recovery to thrive. What I'd like, if you don't mind, just to touch on, because I know you're quite open about your own personal journey, but I think it's really important for business owners, particularly at this time, to hear somebody and how they actually progressed through this recovery process as a business owner, because you didn't have the luxury of taking 4 years off and going into a rehab in South Africa. So can you give us a little insight as to what moment of clarity you had, because I know you were a high functioning addict, and how you moved forward with your life, and then how you've moved into this industry particularly?
This is like that moment, that jumping off point that is described, that basically when I knew that I couldn't, that the drinking wasn't working for me. For me, drinking it wasn't just a hobby. I was really good at it. I was really good at it. I was known for it. I was known for the bad sides of it, and sometimes maybe for the good sides, as in Jason would come with a party in his back pocket, and that's, and I traded off of it, and towards the end of my drinking, though, the party had stopped, if you like. The party, it was no longer fun anymore. I was losing friends and jobs and businesses and business partners, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And anyway, I came to that point. My kids weren't able to stay over at my house. I'd split up with my wife at the time. My kids weren't allowed to stay over unsupervised. They weren't allowed to stay the night, and my boy was asking, can I stay over to his mum? And she said, I'm going to let them stay this weekend, because they were asking to it. My boy was 4, and she goes, but if you drink, you will never see them unsupervised again. and they stayed over, and I didn't realize that on the Friday night, the fear I was feeling was I didn't take a drink on the Friday, but that fear wasn't. That was me that was me rattling. You know, that was me having the jitters. That was me withdrawing from alcohol because I didn't take a drink that Friday morning. So that was my first day of kind of that first sober morning. And then she I actually bought a bottle of booze, and I thought I'd be clever, and I hid it in the car rather than in the washing machine, you know, or in the house. And I went out to my car, left her in the house thinking she might search the house while I'm out. And she won't find the booze, you know, I'm clever, and I. Anyway, the Friday night they stayed, and then I was in withdrawal on the Saturday, but I thought it was the fear of having the kids. It wasn't, it was withdrawal. And on a Sunday was 2 days without a drink. And the kids got into the bed with me. I didn't take the drink that was in the house. So I had those 2 days of alcohol, and the kids got into bed with me on the Sunday morning. And I had this moment, which was just, I can't describe. That was my spiritual experience, or I don't want to say, you know, that was my moment of clarity. And I just knew the warmth and love I felt for those children in that bed was stronger than any drug or drink that I've ever taken. And it was something I was hugely missing, you know, and I didn't realize I was so numb from drinking every day and using, for me, I did as well, that I didn't feel. So that gave me a little moment where I just felt enough. And I went to a recovery group that night, and that's when my journey started. I thought, you know, I'm not going to drink today. I'm not going to drink. And then I went to this recovery group, and that recovery group I've been going to every day since, and pretty much. And they suggested that I don't drink one day at a time, and that's what I do. I don't drink one day at a time. But then moving on to the business, it was a slow journey after that. I had 2 years of not being able to stay sober, and Claire knew me then, and you know, I would get a few months, and I'd get 9 months, I think, at one point. But I'd always go back, and I'd have that moment where I didn't have a defense, and I would drink again. And the way I always describe it is, I then got what I call the right kind of broken. I got my kind of broken. I got broken enough that I was just done, and I was done. And then at that moment, I haven't had a drink since that moment, and I've worked a way of living that was suggested, that enabled me to live 1 day at a time sober. And then when I launched the business, it was actually I was looking at what jobs to do. I was looking at what to do, and I knew I wanted to do something that was helping others. I was thinking about doing a recruitment business, and that was going to help people in recovery, because I was going through a way of living. This 12-step program suggests that you help others, and I was good at helping others, and I was going to set up a recruitment business. And I think it was either Claire or the person at the Forward Trust. We were standing talking, and I said, I'm going to do this recruitment business for people in recovery. And they said, what do you know about recruitment? I said, nothing. I think it might have been Claire, or it was the person who was at this. And they said, well, why don't you focus on what you're good at? So I just set up Citrus Orange at that point, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I could do it within Citrus Orange. Maybe I can do it, you know, maybe I can do it within Citrus. And then the rest kind of is you know, well documented on Citrus Orange on our blog. It's well documented. Then, you know, we met the Forward Trust, and then we put it at the core of the business. And then I started to get people on who were in recovery, and then we started to grow, and the rest is history. But it started from that. It started from that moment. You know, I had that first moment where I knew that I had to change, but then that second moment when I knew that I couldn't drink anymore. You know, I was done, broken. You know, broken.
Serve the gift of desperation.
You took the words that I didn't. You know, the gift of desperation. And they say that I did this then, like I was gonna. If I didn't, I was gonna die. You know, and I knew that if I didn't do this, like I know that if I drink again, and I'm glad I feel that today, if I drink again, I will. It won't stop, and it might not be that easy to come back this time. And you know, for me to drink, you know, has really, really bad consequences. Not just emotionally, physically, and other people, but you know, inside. So yeah, without being too philosophical, yes.
Amazing. And I know, you know, that you've got your social mission, but I also know that you've got a real recovery ethos at your heart. Now, I personally, me and Kev are really passionate about this sort of stuff. Obviously, you know that I've done consultancy work within businesses before around recovery. But how important, if there's any business owners watching this, how important do you think it is to have like a health and wellbeing policy that incorporates recovery in an organisation?
Yeah, this is something that I don't speak about enough, I think, or because I've got so many other things that I think about, but it's something I'm really passionate about. Is, you know, it was about 2 years ago that Parliament lobbied for there to be a mental health first aider in the workplace, and actually we've got it on our blog. And actually, Claire, we did some work around, you know, my mental wealth. You know, this whole kind of the importance of mental health around employers. For employees, attrition. It is. We're in this period of well-being, right? We're all being lifted into a new state of awareness. Apparently, you know, not apparently. I'm not making fun of it. It is. We are in this new period of awareness, and that has filtered into the workplace. But if we look at just probably how much, and there are some stats. Pavilions who have now been renamed as the Brighton and Hove Recovery Service, who basically they've provided me some really good stats around just how damaging alcohol is to employers. So to not have a policy goes against your I don't know if the word, I don't want to be really controversial. It goes against your retention policy. If you want to retain people, then it would be suggested that you provide a service or some support. Even having the phone number for one of the services in your common room or on your website, or in your HR handbook, just that small touch, just to say, if you have a problem with drinking, there's someone to talk to outside or someone to talk to within the business. And that's where a business could either have someone within the business that's trained to at least be the first port of contact to signpost, or you bring an external person in to kind of give management that the support to be able to support others in during the process. Because I see it all the time, and I've experienced it, and I see it all the time, where businesses, it's encouraged at first, but when it goes a bit pear-shaped, unless you have the tools to deal with it, it can be a real struggle. If you haven't got, as an employer, if you haven't got the tools, or the know-how to deal with it, it can be challenging. But luckily, we have companies, like we have Kennedy Street, we have, I think we're all adverts for recovery in employment, recovery within your normal, we are. And hopefully, the more people who are in a position of, I wouldn't say power, but the public eye, who are open about their recovery, I think the better. Because someone said this, and this might be quite controversial, and this might be really controversial. I don't want to alienate or I don't want to upset anybody, but the same thing happened with HIV. Is when stars started to come forward with their what was wrong with them and came forward, it enabled other people to go, do you know what, I'm not alone, it affects other people as well. So yeah, the more people like all of us that are public about our recovery, the better.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And it's so important. Visible recovery within organisations. And like you say, we do deliver the workshops to the workplace. I've always worked in this sector, but as a charity now, part of our business model is to deliver recovery connection workshops, which are external workshops where we bring in a plethora of amazing people from various routes of recovery in the community, and we give an overview of what recovery looks like through the mouths of people with a lived experience. Because I think that's the power in recovery, is you deciding that you've had enough. It doesn't matter who tells you what, until you're ready to throw the towel in, and that's the only time that change can happen. And I think sometimes, I'm a massive champion of the Recovery Anonymous groups, but sometimes I think they're that anonymous that people don't know they're there. And those are the calls that we've been getting. People don't know where recovery lies in the community. You know, they've heard of these fellowships. I had one caller ring in saying, oh, yeah, I can't go to AA because I'm not that bad. And I said, well, what do you think? What do you think? Do you want to die? Is that how bad it's got to get? And he said, no, because it's full of street drinkers. So I said, no. I said, let me just demystify. So what we do is we go into the workplace and we demystify in the workplace.
And it is such a powerful tool and service that you do, because you know you do. And we've had people recently. You know, I know once someone speaks to you and they hear. You know, because there's a saying in one of the 12-step fellowships that I go to, the main one I go to. You know, there's a spanner for every nut. You know, and there's a you know, and that might have, you know, that might put people off. But you know, there's a recovery that suits a type of recovery that suits everybody, and some people might not want one type of recovery. The main effort is that we try in all the different ways we do. We try to provide or put enough different versions in front of people that one of them they identify with, and one of them they latch onto, and they get sober, and they have that sober day, and they have their moment of clarity, their jumping off point, and they manage to stay sober. I will mention, and this is to anyone who's watching this, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention this, but I will. Is we were invited, so I was invited. This is at the very top level of our British government, I think I'd like to call it, is that I was invited by the team at the Brighton and Hove Recovery Service, which is Rob Roberts and his team. I was invited to, there's a independent review going on by Dame Carol Black and JP Marks, who are reviewing, and Public Health England are reviewing how employers are supported with their efforts to support people in recovery. And I was invited last Tuesday to a call with all the stakeholders, all the independent recovery services, the council-led recovery services, the what was Pavilions, you know, their team, and JP Marks and Dame Carol Black. And it was so encouraging at that level. So, you know, this guy's the Director General of the DWP, Department for Health element, and he's passionate. You know, he's passionate about helping those in recovery get a job. Basically, in a nutshell, he's passionate, and so is Dame Carol Black. And actually, some of the conversations were, you know, they're passionate. They're passionate about delivering a solution so that the government supports. So there's obviously practical implications to that, but it was really encouraging for me, and really, really, really refreshing to hear it, that there is this conversation happening. So again, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, and it will get better.
And you know what? It's a long time coming. I think energy and passion and purpose. That's why we do what we do. We revoke our anonymity to be able to reach the still suffering. I know that by being open and honest and allowing people into my world, it allows people into their world. So, you know, it's so important that these issues are brought up. And whilst I love the fact that mental health is being championed, I think that's a long time coming too. What I think the next step needs to be is the elephant in the room, which is recovery from addiction needs to be embedded, like you've done, Jason. That's what I mean about you being a change maker. You know, I think you really don't understand the enormousness of what you've done as a business. If every business could have this model embedded into the core of their organization, I mean, you and Kev are beautiful examples of what happens when a business invests in a solution for their staff. I mean, Kev, you know, when you were at Granada, it was absolutely unheard of that people were supported when they had an addiction problem. Do you want to tell us, Kev, quick, and then?
Yeah, basically, ITV, Coronation Street, and I've said this before, they were very forward-thinking in the way, very American route they went. They rehabilitate their employees who find themselves in trouble with substance abuse, and that's what they did. They sent me up, which was 22 years ago. I mean, it was unheard of. Unheard of. And they did take that American route, and it's so much now in the American psyche that, you know, it's even seeped into their language. You know, get with the program. You know, that's where it comes from. And they were, and I'm eternally grateful to them for sending me into rehab. And since then, they've done it with other actors as well, and other employees, not just in front of the screen, but behind the camera as well. So that's what happened to me. And as I say, I'm eternally grateful to them for doing that, rather than just sacking the actor or sacking the person, the cameraman or whatever. And since then, I've not looked back, because it gave me a proper foundation, into education, to what was wrong with me, what was my disease.
And it gave him hope as well, Jason. Like you and I know, you know, when you're at the lowest point when it comes to addiction, you're not feeling too good about yourself. You're feeling a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. So for Kev to be believed and sort of loved enough, because it is about love. You know, at the end of the day, everything I do with love. You know, okay, I run a charity, okay, I've done stuff in the community, but at the heart of everything I do is love. And that's what Granada did, was they loved Kev enough and believed in him enough to invest in him getting well. And not only did they get an exceptional actor, obviously I think he's brilliant, not only did they get an exceptional actor back, but they got an amazing employee who really couldn't do enough, and still does to this day. If anybody ever rang from Granada or ITV and said to Kev, you know, we've got somebody, can you help them? Kev would be there like that. So you've got an amazing asset within an organisation, a recovery asset.
And I bet that's happened, and that's really, really exciting. You know, that's lovely. You know, just like, that really does, and it happens to all of us. And it does. It fills me with joy when someone reaches out from the active public, sorry, from the public stuff that we do. When somebody reaches out and says, I've got, you know, I need, can you help, you know, I saw this, I heard that, it does make it all worth it. It really, really does. You know, I heard you were, someone told me that you were, you know, you were in recovery, and it does make it all worth it. It makes those tough days worthwhile, you know. And you know, it's been really quite tough lately, and today's been a really good day for me, because you know, it reminds me just how bad it was, just how much we've done, and just how much we can help. And it's really, I love it. I love the story. I've heard your story as well, Kevin, and you know, when you talk about how you guys how Granada helped you, and then it talked about the conversation. I actually was in stitches when you went to see someone about Kevin Leclerc, and they said, and you had to give up, and then you were like, oh, you know. So
I think, yeah. And I think obviously for me, family recovery, and I know that, you know, you've helped your family a lot understand recovery. You know, there's a lot of press out there, isn't there, about addiction, and for me, I'm passionate about recovery from addiction as I am for the family as well, because I think family members have a real journey to go on. And if it hadn't have been for a professional who knew their stuff talking to me when Kev was in treatment, because don't forget, it's a disease of denial. I was a binge drinker, very different type of drinker and drug user to Kev. He was a daily drinker, I was a binge drinker. So I was very distracted happily with his enormous problem. And yeah, it was hysterical. It was, I mean, there is a lot of humour in recovery, isn't there? But when this therapist, this amazing lady called Wim Parry, sat me down and she said, okay, your husband's at near death. You know, for him to come out of this treatment process into a family home where there's drink and drugs, or even to engage in social activities, you know, going to events and parties, because we used to go and meet the Queen and things like that. they're all going to have to you're just going to have to pull the reins on them. And also I sat there thinking, well, that's not acceptable. I'll just divorce him then. Now, thankfully, that therapist had the intuition to go, okay, let me just stop you there, Claire. That is not normal thinking. And it was at that point that she pointed out to me that was an addict's thinking. She said, we need to do an assessment on you. And obviously the rest is history. Right. That woman shone a light, like the brightest light ever. I did know deep down that I had a problem.
Can I ask you, in conclusion, really, what's the future for Citrus Orange, and how's that looking?
Well, it's so as I mentioned, we've had a really good couple of years. We are lockdown was okay to us. We've and I'll mention this, and I was told not to mention it, but I always, but only because it's been we've got to wait another year now. We got an email from the Queen's Awards office, and that was about 2 weeks ago, and they encouraged us to submit an entry for a Queen's Awards for Enterprise under the social mobility category. However, we all got on the call this morning. The team that Roxy and Nicola, we all jumped on a call to run through the submission, and all that we were going to put this best foot forward team to Ian Woolley, who's our chairman, who's an amazing guy, and Carmel, who's an amazing. We're all going to get together and do our submission, and I put in our start date of trading, and you have to be 3 years trading to submit. So we what we know is we know what to look. We've got the submission, so it's basically, and it'd be great for everybody. Again, it'd be great for everyone to have that as part of our history and legacy and way of So that's one thing that we're going to aspire to next year to submit. And then for the future is to grow. It's to grow. It is to grow. I've got this vision. We've got this other last arm, and we've got a last arm of our building where we have a call team where in part of what we do, we generate inquiries for a customer. And then we actually call them and then validate that person for a customer. So it might be for us, it's retirement planning. So my vision is to have this call center in Brighton where, again, 50% of the people are in recovery. So imagine when it's really tough getting back into work, people can kind of work a couple of hours. You might want to work, you might be on benefits and you work a couple of hours. So I've got this vision of having this call team of, however many people. We've got a few people now, but having this kind of large, because you can have quite a few people in a call center environment. There's no pressure. You just literally sit on your headset. You don't have to, and you just grow your experience. So that's one of the things. And then just to continue to grow. I don't want to become, there isn't an empire building here, but just to build a business that is sustainable. And is a really nice place for everyone to work. And I like coming to, a place that I like coming to work. That's what I'm trying to, that's the future, and that's the immediate future. Long term, who knows?
Okay. Well, again, in conclusion, I just want to say thank you very much, Jason, for all your support. And I do hope we get to work together again in the future. And the best of luck for all of your awards coming up, and I hope you have a nice night out in the restaurant.
Yeah, thank you for that tip, and that's what we're going to do. Definitely. All right.
Thank you so much. Sending you lots of love.
I've just seen on Facebook, we've had a few people ping us on Facebook. It's amazing, and thank you, Duke Dexter. Thank you so much, and love, lots of love. That's all. Love.
Guys.
And share this post, please, everybody, because the more people we can reach with this message, and obviously Jason's attitude to being a change maker in the community. And thank you, Jason, for all your love and support. And I love that you're my friend, and I love that you're a supporter of what we do. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Love. Thanks, Kev. Thanks, Claire.
Bye.